Within our souls, we all possess a dream which lay dormant until intrigue strikes its match and sets the torch we carry ablaze, leading us down the path of the unknown towards our dreams. As coaches who are former high-performance athletes, our personal experiences have shown us that a coach, parent, or even a fellow athlete have the potential to either illuminate or extinguish the dreams of young athletes. Nothing is lost from the candle which lights another. We are here to share our stories and our passion to illuminate the champion within, empowering coaches, parents, and athletes to keep the flame of their dreams burning eternally. You are listening to Illuminating Champions with Michal and Ashley Anton. Welcome to another episode of Illuminating Champions. For our first-time listeners, my name is Ashley, and I'm here with my husband, Michal.
Hey, how are you guys?
We also have our very special guest, our personal coach and our brand artist. His name is Mark Patterson.
Hello.
Hi, Mark.
Hi.
So today's episode is entitled Athletic Bodies Make Attentive Minds. And it's all about how athletics actually can help increase academic performance for children who participate either recreationally or competitively, but particularly competitively in sports. When a child is in a sports environment, it's normally one of their favorite settings that they place themselves in their young life. And it stimulates all of their emotions. They're happy, they're excited, they're ready to learn. And this helps them develop their listening skills. It helps them develop their processing skills. And of course, it helps them develop emotionally as well. So there's a plethora of benefits that come along with sports other than just the physical or skill learning. And many of them are cognitive. And this side of sports helping academics not widely discussed, but it's something as athletes, former athletes ourselves, we feel is beneficial for parents to hear about because we both were able to excel in school. And this is normally the case for all athletes. School normally comes a little bit easier for athletes. And we're going to dive into the reasons why, and Mark is going to help us discuss those points. So why don't you go ahead and start us off, Mark?
Sure. Well, it's obvious that sports helps people with their the benefits of physical health. I mean, that's just obvious.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea that thinking that sports can enhance your emotional health, your tenacity, your spirit, that's something that's not really talked about that much. So I'd like to get into that because it's not the obvious. So to go a little bit more into what you guys have learned specifically about how that helped you beyond just the physical.
Sure. So starting with just the emotional, getting into sports, a parent is not normally thinking, I want to put my kid in gymnastics because I want them to develop further emotionally. They're thinking, I think she's going to enjoy this or he's going to enjoy this, and maybe they'll learn how to do a cartwheel,
And they're
going to have fun. But really, once they're inside the gym or they're within any sport, since it's very dear to them, they're going to really embrace what's happening around them. They're immersed between other children their age, sometimes a little bit younger, sometimes a little bit older. So that provides a different dynamic also because, they're seeing children their age. They're seeing children that could look up to them because they're a little older than them. They're seeing children that are a little older than them that they could look up to. And it's just a different setting than being just at home. And then they become more empathetic to other children. They're going to watch people like them who are trying to attain other skills. And they're going to, with proper coaching, learn how to approach that child with uplifting, behavior. They're going to want the other child to do well as much as they want themselves to do well. So emotionally, it makes them become more caring for others. It makes them become more mindful of themselves and of others. Just being in the setting.
Teach them how to socialize at a young age.
Yeah.
And socialize in a very competitive environment, which is a It's a very good behavior to have, because then you grow up as an adult and you are not a person with, like, let's say, like a malignous, like
malicious.
a malicious jealousy. You know what I mean? You are someone who's going to look at someone else and be like, oh my God, that person is so good, is so smart, is so successful. Like, how they do that? And then you look at what they do to be successful, and then you're like, okay, I want to be that successful. I'm going to do the same thing, but better, like they work so much, I'm going to work more. They study so much, I'm going to study more. You take the positivity out of it. And it's very important to have that type of tool going into academics too, because also, you see, academics are as demanding as athletics, let's put it this way. Just athletic can start before academics, right? Because, like, you can start with someone a sport like gymnastics. We talk about gymnastics as we coach gymnastics and did gymnastics. You can start at 2 years old. It's pretty competitive right from the beginning. It's pretty demanding right from the beginning, because that little 2 years old girl, she has to learn very fast how to take corrections, right? She has to learn very fast how to, not orders, what are the, when you tell them what to do?
Instructions, how to
How
follow
to take,
instructions.
how to follow instructions, right? Correctly, because otherwise she's going to get hurt, or she's not going to do that front roll. The other girl is going to do it. Then she's going to see, even though she's 2 years old, she's going to see the other girl doing good, and she's going to want to do good. Then she's going to have to figure out, like, okay, why she's doing that and I'm not. Understand? Then she's going to get those skills at a very young age to understand correction, to take instructions, to build discipline, to build that work ethic, like, at a very young age. And then by the time she's 6 or 7 years old and she goes in first grade or kindergarten, she's already pretty disciplined. And when she gets there, like, obviously she's going to listen to the teacher. Obviously she's going to want to do her homework correctly, understand? Get good grades. And she's going to have the value of, I want to have good grades, understand? You're not going to really have to teach her too much about, like, oh, I want you to get an A+, because she's coming from gymnastics or from another different of competitive sport, and she's going to know, like, okay, that's the best, that's not. Understand?
That's a great analogy. I mean, sports and education. What is a teacher but a coach, and what's a coach but a teacher? And it's interesting that your athletes are going through those two socialization processes simultaneously. So if they look at it right, if you help them to understand that, to see it that way, homework is practice and training.
Yes.
Discipline is being a good attentive student in class, and the whole concept of using sports as like a training ground for life. Well, it's a perfect analogy. So I don't
Look,
think people
I
look
give
at
you
it that way enough.
I gave you an example. Like, I have a little girl that came in my gym last year, and she was just struggling. Like, she's talented. She's very talented naturally, but she didn't get the right coaching, and then she was struggling, athletically. But she was also struggle academically in school. Like, she needs help, and she couldn't focus, and she was not doing her homework, she was not listening well. And then when she came to my gym and we started the process, and I told the parents, like, okay, she's talented, she has to learn how to work, right? She has to become, we talked in the last episode, coachable, right? Now, teaching her in the gym that is very important for her to desire to do things close to perfection, like to desire that perfection, because gymnastics, it's a sport where you get a score, right? You perform and you get a score based on your performing, right? And teaching her that it's important for her to want to work hard and not just work hard, because that's other things. Everybody tells kids, like parents tell kids, coaches tell kids, teachers tell kids, work hard. Hard work makes success. And it's wrong. It's very wrong, actually, because it's not hard work makes success, because you can work hard, but you can work hard unvaluable because you do that work wrong. You have to work hard correct. Understand? And then that's a different concept, and teaching her those things, like, once of a sudden, like, her gymnastics, it's total different. Like, if you watch her a year before and you watch her now, you're not going to know it's the same girl. Understand? But her behavior is also different, and her school is different now, and her parents they came to us and tell us, like, it's like, I don't know what you told her, but she's totally different. She's cleaning her room at home now. Her room is always, like, clean when before was like messy, right? Mommy has to go back in
Right.
the room and clean it for her. Her school is done, her homework are done. Like she's desiring on her own to have good grades. So, and why? Because also from competing in gymnastics now and winning and doing good and getting a 9.9 on floor or a 9.8 on beam, right? She realized, like, wait a second, I'm actually good. I'm valuable, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now when she goes to school, she doesn't look at herself like, oh, I'm not smart. Because she comes with the attitude, that champion attitude from sport. She brings it into academics. Understand? And then when she goes to school, she's like, wait a second. I got 9.8 on beam. I can get a good grade on literature or math.
Well, I
Understand?
think with this girl in particular, and many children, they realize that a challenge or a struggle is normal in the
Yeah.
sport, and that they should just keep working through it, and they'll be able to attain what it is that they want. So it's the same in school. If a child's struggling to read, then they can correlate their struggle in reading to their struggle, to learn whatever skill it is in the gym, or their struggle during conditioning. Then they're just going to know, okay, I just have to keep practicing it. It's normal. It doesn't mean I'm not smart. It doesn't mean I'm never going to be able to read. I just need to practice.
Or
Right.
And
even
then,
understanding
yeah.
a technique. Like, look, I was talented. I'm not going to lie. Like, I was talented. Although I was a sick kid, God gave me that talent. Understand? That I could do tricks pretty easy. Like I will understand them before even the coach explained them to me. But were many tricks over there that I struggle, and I will look at my teammate that was like, I don't know, like 30 times less athlete than I was, getting that trick faster than me,
Mm-hmm.
just because they understood that better. But I couldn't figure it out. And will take me, like with those easy tricks, will take me longer than will take someone that I will beat in competition every day. You know,
Mm-hmm.
but I learn, and my coaches teach me to persevere, be
Be
perseverant.
perseverant.
Yes, and
Yeah.
be patient. Although I didn't have patience, because obviously, like kids and people in general, let's put it like people that are gifted, talented, right, and they are good at something, they don't really have the patience to sit down and like, think about it. They go, right, because comes easy to you. You want to do it. This, I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I'm doing this. Like you want to move fast through it. People that are a little bit less, because that's why in Olympics, the Olympic champion are not always the most talented, are the ones that are like 30% natural talent. The rest of it is dedication, work ethic, discipline, right?
Right.
Are the ones that have to work for it a little bit more. Because the ones that's very talented, normally they don't have that patience, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And you learn it. You have to learn it in gymnastics. And then that shows you, like Ashley said with school, like if you cannot read something or you cannot do math, you're not going to have that impatience with yourself to be like, oh, I'm not good, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to sit down there and you're going to practice till you get it, because that's what gymnastics is about. You practice something 1,000 times. Like I tell the girls in the gym all the time, a champion is not the one that does it in one repetition. It's the one that falls down 1,000 times, stand up 1,001 time, and 1,001 time they make that trick happen.
Mm-hmm.
Understand? They have that successful execution in competition.
Yeah. So
And you bring that in academic.
yeah, this great idea of athletes beyond just making you a physically stronger, healthier person, but a training ground for socialization is really an astounding thing. The fact that you learn how to do something, how to run a play in football, how to shoot
Mm-hmm.
the basketball correctly. You learn team building, which is how can you survive in the world without understanding that you have to be a collaborative person that people like working with. So I think it goes pretty deep, the analogies.
It is, one second. It is, because look, you have team sports and you have individual sports. And I always tell my customer when we talk about sports, and I tell the girls too in the gym when I talk to them about sports, I always say individual sports are at the food chain, the top of the food chain in the Olympics. Like an individual athlete, it's a monster as a person. It's a monster as a champion, like behavior wise, understand?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you compete in a team sport, most of the times, and a good athlete, the best athletes in team sport, they rely on the team, understand? Like you're not by yourself in front of the arena performing. Your mistake counts. You play soccer, for example, it's 11 players, right? You are Cristiano Ronaldo and you have a bad day, you don't feel very good. If the rest of the teams plays very well, you're not going to see your poor performing that day. Understand? Where in gymnastics, if you compete in the US women team at the Olympics and you have a bad day, the whole world is going to see your bad day and the team is going to feel it, because you see, gymnastics, it's funny. The team competition in gymnastics is funny. It's a team environment when you practice, but you compete against direct compete against your teammate and best friend. Then think about it, like it's like me and Ashley, we go in a competition, we train together, we work together, but we go compete against each other. And then in training, I'm always like, come on, one more, come on, you can do it, stick the landing, bravo, right? But then I go up there on the high bar and I want to beat you. Understand? I want to perform better than you. But at the same time, I'm humble with you, I'm respectful with you, I support you. But I want to be the best. I'm not going to let you be better than me. You have a good story like that in US, actually. 2008, the Olympic team in 2008 in Beijing. You have Sean Johnson, which was the superstar, and Nastya Lukin. Best friends. They sleep in the same room, right? Nastya won the Olympics. Sean came in second place or third place, I think, or second place all around. You know, everybody was expecting Sean Johnson to win, but Nastya won. And they are best friends. She beat her own best friend. You don't see that in other sports, really. And especially not in team sports. You know, when you play in the same team, you're not going to have your teammate beat you at the same game, at the same competition. You know, and that's a different level of social interaction. Understand? Because you really have to learn how to desire to be the best, but at the same time be humble enough to support your best friend, you know, and or your teammate. Even you are not the best friend, is still your teammate. You have to support them, you know, you have to be there for them, but at the same time you have to perform for you. You know, it's kind of like a selfish sport, but at the same time very humble.
Well, it's the most directly correlated
Yes.
to actual school
And real life.
and real life, because you are competing against your own classmates at one point. If you want to
All
get
the
into
time.
a good college, you know, you're competing against everybody else in your school system and all the other school systems
Yes.
in the country, and sometimes even outside of the country. But that doesn't mean that you need to approach them with jealousy or be, you know, not supportive of their journey either. It's very directly related. And I think sports are a great way for kids to become more responsible with themselves. You know,
Yes.
normally, like you mentioned, homework before. If a student is in the gym and they're realizing what's important for them to focus on, if they're, you know, their coach is saying, I need you to go home and practice splits more, because when you come in the
And
gym,
that happened.
yeah, which is a normal request, because kids always are, well, what can I do at home? When it's gymnastics, they want to know what they can do at home, because they don't look at it like it's homework. Okay, go home and practice splits. Well, that's not always the most fun thing for the majority of kids. There's very few that really are going to be like, I want to go do splits
or do legs left.
Yeah.
One second, keep your idea. I have kids coming the same thing. They come in the gym, they're like, Mr. Michael, what can I do at home? Can I do some back walkover? Can I do, because they learn the back walkover or they learn the back handspring? I say, no. Do bridges, do 10 sets of 10-second bridge, do 20 legs left, 5 sets, do your splits. And then that becomes like homework school now, understand? Because it's not the fun thing, like the cartwheels, the flips, the things that they enjoy, right? And you can show off to your friends with. Now your friends come to the house and you are like, oh, I have to do my 10 bridges. Wait a second. No, if you do a cartwheel or do an aerial, everybody's going to be like, oh my gosh, you're so cool, right? And it's the same thing with school. You learn that, understand, that it's your responsibility to do the work to get better, understand, right? And to do the extra work to become the best at something, understand. Right. Now you can finish it.
Well, you covered it, but yeah, it's exactly what he said. And then it does develop, of course, the self-reflection, the honest self-reflection of, you know, was I trying my hardest? Did I get my homework done? Did I complete my assignment? Could I have focused more on whatever it was I was working on for it to have come out better? Because there's constant reevaluation when you're within your sport. So then, without even thinking about it, you start doing that when you go to school. You are paying better attention. You are responsible to get your homework done. You take it more to heart that there's an expectation of you from your teacher, because you've already experienced, you know, the benefits of working hard and listening and seeing a positive result afterwards.
You've talked in previous episodes about um, the emotional training that your athletes go through, because really, when they start gymnastics at such an early age, they're children.
Hmm.
They haven't been outside the home that much. The word socialization is only they've learned to not interrupt mom and dad, or to not hit their brother or steal a toy. So the idea is that um, the emotional maturity that comes with being an athlete puts them far ahead of others who don't have that experience. So you might talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, we always say, especially gymnastics, because it is notoriously very young, kids mature. I said it last time, like in dog years. Like
Yeah.
a 10-year-old girl is as mature in certain aspects emotionally as maybe a 16-year-old girl who did not involve herself in gymnastics, because she's had to face so many adult sized emotions throughout her experience. You know, she is learning to overcome challenge. She's learning to set a goal continuously. She's learning to have a mindset of growth, because in a sport like gymnastics, the learning never stops. There's not like a limit on the skill set. You can learn infinitely, because once you run out of skills, which no one ever does, you can create a new skill. So learning never stops, and it makes you hungry to learn. And it makes you realize that there's always room for learning, which just emotionally I think is really important, because you never really become overwhelmed with what's left to learn, and you look at it like it's exciting to continue learning, and that makes you become an
And it's
ambitious
all
adult.
also very challenging. Understand? More challenging than academic. Because in academic, for example, when you go to school, if you are a good student, A plus student, normally if you're good at geography or math, you're gonna stay good. Understand? It's much easier to hold
To
it,
maintain.
to
Yeah.
maintain it. You're not gonna get many challenges in your class that's gonna once of a sudden the guy that got a D minus or an F is gonna jump up to A plus straight. Understand? Where in gymnastics, you can be at 10 this competition and get a 6.5 next competition. Understand? Like
Mm-hmm.
the chances of you doing wrong are much higher than you doing wrong in math when you know math. Understand? Because when you start knowing math, you know math. You just have to sit down and pay attention. That's it. You know, where in gymnastics, you're the best in the world at beam, and you can fall on beam 5 times and stand up to a competition. Then it's more challenging. It's never let you to calm down and be like, okay, I'm the best. I'm good at it. I'm relaxed now. No, you never can do that in gymnastics and in sports in general, because it's always someone there that can challenge you. You know, and sports are funny that way, because the person that's the last today can be the best tomorrow. Very, very
Mm-hmm.
fast. Understand? Through discipline, through hard work, to doing the work correct. You know, where in academics, if you're ahead of other people, you kind of stay ahead of other people. You know,
Mhm.
like look at school in general. Like you see a student that was very good right from the beginning, from the first grade. She was A plus. She will stay A plus to the end of her high school. And just God forbid that something happened, her family splits, drug addiction, alcohol, whatever. She gets sick or but other than this, she's gonna be a good student all the time. But in sports, it's not like that. You can start your career like a superstar, and 2 years into your career, someone else take your spot, and you never nobody hear about you.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Well,
that challenge is making a strong, strong character, because you live with that challenge every day. You go to the gym and you see your teammates challenging and challenging you. You never can be like, ah, today is enough. You know,
you said a good word there, character. Um,
Mm-hmm.
character.
you know, we talked about physical growth and emotional growth. The idea of building character, how to win with humility and not rub someone's nose in it, how to lose gracefully, the idea of sportsmanship. I mean, character development is a really important aspect of all sports, don't you think?
Yeah, it's
It is.
huge. I mean, I think that also brings the lightness and the atmosphere to sports as well. Absent of that, sports can become a toxic place. So as a coach, it's very important to create moments that are character building. You need to emphasize sportsmanship. You need to emphasize team camaraderie and being supportive of one another. And you need to let children know that they value themselves based upon their character, not their athletic or their academic success. And when they start focusing on more of their inner self, besides they're happier emotionally, they do start performing better as a result of it because they're more mindful of the things that are really going to make a huge difference. They're paying attention if they're being a positive example for their peers, whether that means just being nice to somebody else or if they're listening attentively to their teacher or their coach. They're paying attention to wanting to perform well, because they care about what they're doing. And then their performance, of course, comes out better. So, this idea of building character through sports, it goes into the rest of your life, not just in academics.
And like we talked before about the character of the champion, or the behavior of a champion, is desiring to be the best, right? Doing the work that comes with it, right? Having the discipline and that work ethic, winning with pride and humbleness, and lose with pride and humbleness. You learn both, right? And then when you go in school, when you go in society, you're gonna have that type of behavior around other people, because that's why you see in school how much bully is in, you don't see much bully in sports.
Right.
Understand? Like, yeah, you see athletes telling each other, like, oh, I'm going to beat you, I'm going to be better than you, because that's competitive. It's a very competitive environment. But they are not like bully.
Well, they're
Like,
normally joking. It's normally
yes,
a
understand?
friendly, playful
They
thing.
not bully like in school when someone like really wants to make you feel bad, really wants to hurt you just because they jealous that you're smarter than them on the math class, but
Hmm.
they bigger than you physically, and they're gonna bullying you every day, like taking your candies, taking your sandwich or whatever. Understand?
Mhm.
You don't see that in sports,
Right.
because in sports we learn to respect our opponent, we learn to respect our teammate. Understand? You get
Right.
that respect because they do the same work you do to be a champion
So,
better than
so
you,
you
right?
could take the idea of character into integrity and honesty. You don't cheat.
Right.
You don't cheat in sports, or if
Yes.
you do, hopefully
No.
you get caught. There's a great story in golf. There's a great champion golfer, Bobby Jones.
Hmm.
He's known more for his. He was a great golfer, but he's really known more for his character. There's a story about he was in the most important championship event of his life, and he accidentally, as he was getting ready to hit the ball, he touched the ball and moved it just a sliver. No one saw it, so he called the judge over and said, that's a stroke on me, and no one saw it, but he took the stroke, and I believe he lost by one stroke. You know, but
Oh my
You see,
gosh.
he's more remembered for that massive exposition
honesty.
of character and integrity than he was for all the great shots he made. So it's you can't underestimate the value of developing character in athletes.
No.
Yeah.
And you see, like, I don't know golf. I never play golf. I don't understand golf. Maybe one day I'm gonna play it. But you know why rich people play golf? Exactly for what you explained. Because on that game of golf, when they play golf in their free time, they actually study your personality. If they want to do a business, right, they invite you to a golf game, right? At that golf game, they see like if you are a cheater, right?
Right.
If you like a sore loser, because like people do that, like, and it's a
It's true.
very, how to say, it's a very free environment
Right.
that you don't even think about it, but it's also competitive. And you see someone, like you said, like hit the ball a little bit to move it here, you know, and then the other person will look at it and is like, oh, okay, I'm not gonna do business with this guy.
Right.
If he does that here with that little ball, what he's gonna do when we're gonna roll around $300 million?
I had
Yeah.
I had
Understand?
a very wealthy businessman. We were having lunch, and I asked him what was his secret to success. He says, finding the right people to work with. And I said, how do you find
Yes.
them? He
Yeah.
said, I take them to lunch. He said,
Oh yeah, or that.
I watch how they treat the waiter or waitress.
Yes.
If they're
Yeah.
rude or nasty, or if they totally ignore them, they're just not the right. the right person. So,
Right.
I give you the example of God because it's a sport, and we was talking about sports and academics, and I wanna show people like, yeah, like you can look at the athletes. Even with athletes, you see athletes like, look at people. They look at, for example, Mike Tyson was so brutal when he was fighting, and that. But then you look at his other side, right? How he helps kids, how he does this,
right,
like the humanitarian things that he does,
right,
the things, how the way he speaks, the way, he's a good person, understand, it's a person that you want to work with, like if you have money you want to invest with, right, will be a loyal partner to have in,
right,
you
right.
know you look at Tim Tebow, and I don't watch football, American football, but I know Tim Tebow. Actually, I know him because he was working. I was coaching a girl. I told you in the past I work with kids with Down syndrome, and I was working with a girl with a Down syndrome, and she has her own
Foundation.
foundation, and she was going to his proms
Yes, he hosts a prom all over the country
Right.
for children
with Down
with
syndrome,
Down syndrome. I don't know if other special needs as well, but she was going to his prom.
and he was his day. Like, and
Yeah.
I was
And she
like,
invited him as her date.
I was joking with her at the time because I'm like, I was telling her like, you didn't invite me, you invite this guy. Like, who's this guy? I actually didn't know who he is till then.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, then I start reading, and I was like, wow, that's a guy that, like, and he's an athlete.
Right.
I understand, but because his behavior,
Mm.
yes, it's someone that you will like to work with, you will like to be around, right? And he's successful because of that.
Yeah.
Right. That's great.
Well, I think sports are a good way to make children aware of the importance of how you condone yourself.
Yes.
Even with my little ones that have never gone to competition, one of the things that we work on in the gym is practicing imagining what it would be like when we're there. And I always reiterate to them, you want to be the team that everybody perceives as being polite, as being good listeners, as being celebratory of each other, and even of your fellow competitors, that you're respectful of them. You want to be the team that they don't go in the competition and they leave their belongings all over the place and don't make a mess. And just having this good behavior, like etiquette style of behavior, and that carries into academics as well, because children who involve themselves in sports, particularly gymnastics, who compete, you do develop these other organizational skills. Besides that, you learn how to think sequentially and logically and problem solve. Since you have responsibility, you need to get yourself ready for practice. You need to remember to bring your equipment, whatever equipment it is that you use, tape, grips, whatever it is. You're bringing it back and forth. You need to remember your water bottle. Then it goes back into school. The child is going to be more apt to remember to bring their homework in, to remember to pack their backpack, to remember if they brought their lunch to school, just all these little details. And then something else I want to bring up that most people don't think about is that for athletes that do individual sports in particular, because you're performing alone in front of an audience, it really helps once they have to go back into school and do something like a report in front of the class or anything that's public speaking related. They're not afraid to speak in front of people or even read aloud as much as a child who's never experienced the rawness of performing in front of somebody
Yes,
else,
by
because
yourself.
they're used to people watching them and judging them, and they're aware of that. If they make a mistake, it's surpassable. It's not the end of the world. So that's something for me. I always found it really weird as a child that if we had to do like a book report in school, being in third grade or fourth grade, my classmates would be panicking. I don't want to talk in front of the class. And I was like, I'll go first. And I innately as a child was really, really shy. But my social shyness didn't correlate into public speaking because I was already performing in gymnastics. So I just took it like this is a performance.
Performing alone, like, and in life in general, you most of the time in life you're gonna perform alone. Understand? It's for you to become, even for example, you become the CEO of a company and you have a whole company working with you, right? You have a whole group of people, a whole team that's gonna work with you. For you to get there, you have to have your personal performing very good in order for you to get that position. Understand? then you have to learn to be able to perform alone. You have to be able to trust yourself
Right.
first, and then the people around you. Understand?
Mm-hmm.
Like you cannot just rely on the people around you. And you learn that in sports, especially individual sports. You learn it at a young age. Because I remember, for example, when I was in Cirque du Soleil training, like they have a lot of artistic classes. And they tell you when you get there, they are like, oh, we know you are a good athlete, but we have to change you in an artist. And then you look at them, you're like, what are you talking about? I can do a triple flip. Like, you want me to go on trapeze? I can do a triple flip. It's easy. But then you have to act while you are doing a triple flip. You have a character. And that becomes complicated. Now you have all those classes to teach you how to be an artist. And in some classes, they put you do a lot of improv.
Yeah, improv.
Yeah, like movement and stuff like this. And every time when they put you with a group of 3-4 people or like another partner to improvise a character or a story, they have those big like studios, right?
Yep.
They put a white spotlight on you and everybody sits on the other side of the light. You don't see anybody, you just hear them, right? Like mumbling and laughing and talking, and you don't speak English or French, you don't know what they are saying. Now you get embarrassed. But when you are with someone else out there, it's much easier to play and make a character, understand?
Mm-hmm.
But then when they put you by yourself, even
It's
for
so
me,
hard.
first time they put me on that stage by myself with a white light on me and told me to improvise a character, I remember my heart almost stopped. Like I was like, I was thinking about myself. I'm like, what's wrong with me? Like I can't move. You know what I mean? Like it's very pressuring to be on your own out there, you know? And you learn that. You learn in sports, you learn in gymnastics, you learn.
I like the idea
You go on that.
that you say the gymnasts have to learn to fall. Because
Yeah.
you're
Yes.
not going to get a 10 the first day in the class. And so the idea of learning to fall and fear of failure, I think I read once that fear of failure in front of a group is the number one fear. Death is number two. So
Yes.
when you're an athlete out there performing, you're never going to run every play or do every trick perfectly. You're going to fail. So the idea of learning to fail is a great
Mhm.
part of being a successful person.
Yes.
Right.
But you see, that comes from coaches.
Mm-hmm.
I was going there. That's the coaches' part to teach the athletes to fall, to teach the athletes to have bad performing, how to deal
How to
with bad,
deal with a
not
bad
to have,
performance.
how to deal with bad performing. Understand? Teach athletes to desire to be the best, but like I said, be humble, be respectful.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and especially also in the team sports. That's why, like, we watch team sports sometimes, especially professional team sports. You have a player that's very good in that team, right? He's the superstar of the team, and the second you didn't pass him the ball or something, he has a hissy fit. Understand? He starts screaming, swearing, bad sportsmanship just because he's the best. You have to
Yeah.
play him, right? He doesn't know how to react around other people.
Mm-hmm.
Understand?
Mm-hmm.
But that's coming from coaching and parenting too.
Yeah.
You have to teach that side. Like if you do a team sport, you have to have a team behavior.
Right.
And I learned something like that. I learned in Cirque du Soleil, and I didn't understand them at the time. I'm being honest. I was so mad at them. I was like, these guys, they don't know how good I am. You know what I mean? Like I was like, I was so mad. But then I understood. Like time got by, and like I thought about it, and then obviously I always like bothers me. But they told me one time, it's like, you should do a solo act, because I was training for the O show in Las Vegas, and I was doing the aerial hoop, and that's the last act in the show. And it's a spectacular act. And at the time, like they was like, oh, not many people can do it because you spin and they get dizzy. And for me, I mastered it pretty fast. And then I was cocky about it. But they always look at me. It's like you can't we can't put you in this show. I say, why? I'm the best. It's like, yeah, you're the best. You execute that act that you should be by yourself on stage. We can't do that. It's an act. I think at the time was 6 people at the same time. It's like you stand out of everybody. Like we can't do that. You have to do an individual act. And I was like, these guys are crazy. Like I didn't understand their reasoning,
I see.
But now when I'm older, I'm more experienced, I look back, I'm like, well, yes, because I was not playing a team act. I was playing my act.
Right.
I took that team act and I make it Michael act, understand? And didn't work like that because they need a team act, And it's the same thing like with an athlete that plays in a team. Because for me, I did an individual sport. It was very hard for me to perform something like everybody else. In gymnastics, I always like to stand out. Then my performing was in the way that I will stand out better than everybody else. Understand? And they understood that very fast. They tried to explain me. I didn't understand it.
Go ahead.
Took me time to understand.
I was going to say, I wanted to go back to something you said before about Cirque du Soleil and improvising and being creative.
Yes.
And mention also, another thing people don't really think about, but in sports that are performance based, I mean, in all sports, you can use visualization as a tool, but in gymnastics in particular, because you're flipping over all the time and you can't see what you're doing, but it has to be so precise. Because it's not just on the ground, it's up on a bar or up on a beam, and your level of accuracy there's nothing else I can compare it to. So it's so much of a feeling based sport, and needing to use visualization and imagine and have creative and quick thinking, that going into other areas of life or going into school and you need to do things that are like a creative writing, or just finding a different way to get to a solution, or even, thinking scientifically, trying to develop, a science experiment in school. The gymnast mind is normally so much more creative than the average, because you always have to think creatively and imaginatively within gymnastics, because it's so much feeling based. It's not literal black and white like math is sometimes, where 1 + 1 is 2. In gymnastics, like you need to feel what you're doing without seeing what you're doing, and your mind, you open other areas of your mind, and it does help.
It's actually funny because in gymnastics the feeling goes in imagination.
Yeah.
Like for example, when I did a triple flip or I do a 4 twist, I don't see my body twisting in the air.
Yeah.
I feel it.
And you kind of imagine what it looks like.
Feeling.
Can't imagine.
It's like I'm watching myself. It's like I'm watching myself from outside. I know exactly where my toes were. I know exactly how my legs are. Understand? I feel my position. I can imagine myself up in the air, and then if I look on the camera, it's like the same movement.
Yeah.
Understand?
It's kind of weird.
I'm like, oh, like wait a second. I just bent my leg over there. Like no, I know exactly. Like I got to that point where I knew exactly how I look. But I have to say something. Because we talk about the importance of sport and how they can help academics. But if it's done correctly,
right?
Again, we go back to do things correct. Because you see, most of the time in sport, like me, I was a smart student. 1st to 4th grade, maybe 5th a little bit. But after that, it started taking me out of school. And in that system. And I will not go to math, I not go to physics, I not go to this, I not go to that. And when I will go back to school, also the teacher, they'll be like, oh, the champion is here. Tell us today how many medals you won at the last competition. And I will say, they'll be like, okay, you got the perfect 10. And then at one point I was like, why I'm studying? Like I'm going to competition, I'm taking my history book with me, which I love history. I'm reading the whole book. I go back to class and the teacher asked me about my gold medals in pommel horse and high bar and this and that. At one point, like I become like lazy with school, understand? Because I was like, I don't have to study. They're going to pass me school no matter what because I'm an athlete. And they do that in America too, unfortunately. They do it, I think, everywhere in the world with the best athlete, especially in team sports like soccer. Here it's football, right? Europe is soccer or baseball. You are in a good baseball team. They put you in a baseball team. You go to college. The college doesn't care about your academics.
Sometimes, yeah.
No, most of the time, let's put it that way. Most of the time they don't care, and that's wrong. They have to care. They have to, like, if you go to you get a scholarship in America, you have this luxury of scholarship. Mm-hmm. And I think it's one of the only countries in the world that you can get a scholarship athletically and go to a good college to develop your academics.
Sure.
Then push that academic side as a school. Push the athlete to have good grades. Keep them on that track of good grades and good athletic performance because they can do both. Mm-hmm. Understand?
Right.
But don't let them become lazy because you give them passes just because they are an athlete. Mm-hmm. And that's not helping them. That's bringing them to mediocrity. Because guess what? A football player gets a concussion. And after that, where he's going? Back to Bridgeport, Connecticut. And he's homeless, doing drugs and crime and other things. Where that kid could be a doctor. If you put him in school and you educate him academically and the school is giving him the right path, You can use his athletic and you can use his academics. And that's where that's why people don't see the help of athletics into academics. Because
That's
most
true.
of the time when you get to the professional level and you look at the athletes, they barely know how to speak their own language.
Sure.
And that's why they know, because like by the time they are in like, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 grade, 9 grade, you know, the schools start giving them passes academically in order for them to do the sport. You know, especially in America, it's wrong, because in America you have the homeschool process, which is very, in my opinion, it's a big tool for the parents to have, and for the child that does a sport professionally, because you can take them out of that everyday school program, have them in an athletic schedule with a school in the middle, and make sure that they do the academics on that time they have for academics to be good at it. You know, not for me. They took me out of the school. Then I have to go back to school a month after, and I try to pick up on math. And I
It
like
doesn't
math,
work.
to be honest. Like I like math, but then after 6 months of being out of school, when I go back to math, those guys was doing formulas that I didn't even
Right.
understand. Like I would look at the board with the teacher. I'd be like, "What's that? Divided by what?" I like where that came from. When I was here last time, you did 2 + 2 = 4. You know what I mean? Like now you guys are doing those things.
It's
What are those
because you
things? You know?
dropped your training, right? You dropped
Right.
your
But
math
the same
training.
thing.
Yeah. You
Yes,
sit out,
math is actually very close to gymnastics, because it's like
sit out the
gymnastics. You have
gym.
to do it.
If you sit out the gym for about 6 months, then go back and try and do one of
Yes,
your triple
It's
flips
not the same.
and see what happens.
but it's the same thing. But that's
Yeah.
why I say it's the same thing. It's a similarity between both.
There's
Just
a
academics starts younger. Understand?
yeah.
Not academics. Sorry, athletics start
Athletics.
younger.
There's
Understand?
one thing that
Start before school.
the one thing that you mentioned that we need to talk about. Some parents, fear that their child, especially in gymnastics, is spending so much time in the gym that it's taking away from academics. But I think you make a good case that academics includes more than just your nose in a book. It's about character development. It's about emotional health. So
Yes.
so how can you talk to a parent about that balance and the benefit of athletics and education?
I always bring up myself as an example because I grew up in the
She's
same
smarter than me.
society as their children are, where I was in the gym and I was going to school normally. I wasn't homeschooled or something like this. I also wasn't doing the sport at an elite level, so it didn't necessitate that. But you know,
You should be doing.
I know that's a story for another day. But anyways, um, for me in school, it was easy to excel because being in the gym, it helps you not just emotionally, but even develop cognitive skills. Like it was always really easy for me to memorize because being in the gym, you're constantly memorizing. You don't even realize it. And it's actually funny when you have really little kids because at one moment they figure out that they've memorized something and they're like, wait, how did I know that? And I'm like, that's because you memorized it. That's what that means, but I knew it was coming next. Why? And I'm like, because you learned it. And you're building these pathways
At a very young
at
age
a
in
very,
gymnastics.
very young age. And it's interesting because it's like a full body learning experience because it's auditory, listening to your coach, it's visual, because you're always moving around. And I mean, it's different because your perception is like flipping and upside down. You're getting all different visuals while you're trying to take in the auditory, while you have to process step by step what to do and feel what your body's doing. So it's kind of activating all these different parts of your brain at the same time. And I do really believe that it heightens your self-awareness and your ability to create these different pathways within your brain. And then it makes learning different things in school easier. It also, like I said before, develops a sense of responsibility and importance in doing well. So going into school, I wanted to be the best student because I wanted to be the best one in the gym because I learned that competitiveness. I wanted to show my teacher, like, look, I remembered my homework when my classmates forgot theirs because I wanted in the gym to impress my coach. Like, look, I remembered how to do this skill correctly. or I remembered my grips, but my teammate forgot theirs. Like it holds you to a different level of responsibility within yourself. And then, of course, having that time constraint. I said this in a previous episode of having to go to school, having to get my homework done, and then being allowed to go to gymnastics when my homework was completed. And there's not a lot of time in between coming home from school and getting to the gym. Sometimes it's 30 minutes to an hour. But you need to find
Because
ways
you
to,
learn
right,
responsibility.
to get it done and realize the importance of getting it done and how that's going to add to your future. So that always helped me. I always got my homework done, whereas I had classmates that didn't do sports. They had hours and hours of time after school, and they were going home and watching TV and waiting until 11 o'clock at night to start their homework and not finishing it,
Right.
and not prepared for the next day or rested. And, it really helped. There's was in no way do I ever feel that gymnastics negatively affected my schooling. It always helped me.
Because you see, she said about the responsibility of doing homework, right? In sports, like gymnastics, at a very young age, your training is 2 hours, 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's limited, right? In that limited time, you have to get this done. Understand? Then you learn to manage your time. Understand?
Right.
You learn the responsibility of, I want to be the best. I have to do this. And then like, I have to get this done. I have to get this done.
You're
I
always
have
on
to
a
get this done.
deadline.
Like, yes.
Right.
And that brings when you go to school, like, look, I think I can make a bet and say, like, if you go to the first graders, the like 6 years old,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Six,
Six.
right? Go to the first grader and see, after 2 weeks of school or 3 weeks of school, what are the best students behavioral wise in school, and look at the ones that are doing gymnastics competitively.
Competitively.
Say it again.
Competitively.
Competitively.
Yep.
I'm trying this word for a long time.
It's a lot of syllables.
Yes. Anyways, they are ones that behave the best, because they go to school in the first grade, in the first day of school. They go there with already a well behavior, learn from gymnastics, because they go there and they know, okay, I have to listen, I have to do my homework, I have to pay attention, because that comes already from gymnastics training, or from any other sport that they will do competitively at that age, But at that very young age, I don't think so. It's any other sport that's as competitive as gymnastics.
No.
To be honest, they are hard sports, but not as competitive right
because
away.
because the
gymnastics, right?
individual's focused. You see that one individual. When they're playing soccer, you can be way out in the back and no one notices. There's just Tommy in the back. But when somebody's on the balance team, they're in the spotlight.
And you feel it in the back, like in gymnastics, you feel it. I understand, because you go to competition at 6 years old, and I told you the judge gonna smile to you, gonna give you a high five, and then she's gonna give you a 6.7, and you come in the last place with a smile on the face. Understand? Because the other one got a perfect 10, and then you learn very fast. It's like a wake up
call, yeah.
Like that. It's like someone hit you with a baseball bat when you sleep, like bang, and hit you in the head. You wake up like, whoa, what happened? It's very real right from the beginning, and the merit, it's based on merit. Right from the beginning. When other sports are based on the fun of the sport, like soccer, you said, they run around with the ball, they don't even score.
Yeah.
They don't count scores. Then the child doesn't learn the value of competitive, the value of
Competitive
Of sports.
competitiveness. Yes. No, I'm just I have a big ego. I need to learn to speak English correct. Like, I cannot let things be wrong.
Good.
I have to make them perfect. You see, I'm driven. But yes, they don't learn that, and then they go to school. They don't, they go to school like, oh, it's fun. Let's have fun. Today I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna get a F, and it's okay. But in gymnastics, you can't do that. In gymnastics, you want to get an F, you have to be happy with that F, because if that's your best and you're happy with your best, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But don't cry when that girl gets that big trophy and the gold medal. Understand? Because she worked very hard. Then you're gonna learn very fast. And it's good. Listen, it's good for kids to learn. I said it before in other episodes. It's good for them to learn those behavioral traits
Traits.
in sport at that age.
Right.
because they are
Harmless.
harmless. They are harmless, understand?
Mm-hmm.
Because they
Yeah.
can go back and they can try again, and they can go back, they can try again. Where if they get a little bit older with school, especially with academics, you cannot really try it too many times, understand? When your train left the station,
Mm-hmm.
real life comes in, understand? And then it's too late. You become a mother, you become a father, then you cannot go to college. Now you have to go to get a job. Now you have to work, understand? Then you're not gonna have much time to build your life. Because I look even at me, and I can be honest. I could be, I could have a different profession. I'm a smart guy. I'm intelligent naturally, but I didn't study because that's how I was. Like I was like those athletes I told you. The second I become national champion, they was like, oh, the champion, and then I got used to that, you know. And then I didn't. And my father will tell me all the time, son, study, son. You need better grades, son.
Mm-hmm.
And that one time I told my father, like, I know. He's like, you have to be better at math. And I say, Dad, I know how to count my money. That's enough. He look at me, he's like, no, it's not, you know. But I was a little kid. I was like 14, 15. I was arrogant. I was cocky, right? I was the champion. Like everybody made me feel that I was this guy that was like special, right? And that's all I need to be special. I need that gold medal. And I didn't need the gold medal. I need the behavior for a gold medal, understand? And
Right.
I wish I did things different. But at the same time, I'm happy with what I have today. It's not that I'm not happy.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I was lucky. I was lucky to get right people around me to guide me back, understand?
Mm-hmm.
But even that, did I achieve what I could achieve in life? No. I achieved less because even athletic, I will be on different path athletically if I keep my academic focus correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Understand? And that's why it's important to keep the kids in check at a very young age and teach them to have good
I
behavior.
think that's the whole purpose of why you're doing these podcasts, not to teach people just about how you do the tricks of gymnastics, but the whole
That's
idea
easy.
of building champion mindset, making better people. So
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
Listen,
Say what
it's
you.
easy. It is. Remember, we had private conversations before, and I told you, like, it's easy to teach a trick. It's easy to tell someone, straight your leg because you can see it. Point your toes. It's visible. How you teach someone the invisible part?
Right.
Understand? Which is behavior, right? Behavior, you see the visible part of the behavior when they react to something.
mm-hmm.
But what's behind that reaction? How they got to that reaction?
Right.
That's invisible. Understand that you don't see it, right? Especially when you work with athletes, because or teachers in school, you don't have the kids the whole day. You have them for an amount of hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then they are home, and they come to school, and today, I don't know, she's answering you back or he's answering you back, and as a teacher, you get mad at that. Then you're never gonna treat that child respectfully because you think they are disrespectful, right? And you're not going to look at them. You're not going to give them any chance after that. You're going to just have them in the class over there or in the gym and be like, whatever. I don't care about these kids. They are disrespectful. But you don't know why they behave that way. What's triggering them to be that way. You have to work with that. I have kids in the gym, like the majority of my kids in the gym, like they have hard time behaving and listening, but they don't, how to say, like, I don't look at them and I'm like, I'm not going to coach this girl. No, I want to coach her. That's the girl I want to coach the most. I want to figure out how I can get her to listen, how I can get her to focus, how I can get her to desire to do better. Can I do that? Because I know for sure that if she straight her legs in that cartwheel, which is a simple trick, right? It's a lower level trick. If she learns how to focus to straight the leg in that cartwheel, she's going to learn how to focus to do her homework correct at home. She's going to learn how to focus to do math good, understand? She's going to learn how to desire to get good grades in school.
Mm-hmm.
Now you see where the difference is? Because I don't coach her for gymnastics just.
Sure.
I coach her because I wanna make her behavior the champion behavior. Her gold medal doesn't matter.
Right.
Her gold medal behavior matter for me.
That's great.
Right.
Understand? And that's how I think coaches and teachers should look at kids. That's the first time a child is giving you a hard time, like try to figure out why they do that,
Right.
where that comes from.
So that's
We're gonna
really
do
the
an
takeaway.
episode
That's
on.
really the takeaway of this message. That there's the role of all this and the facets of all this learning and how that's the many facets of a champion.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's a multifaceted thing. And we're going to do a whole episode on our perception as coaches, like what we see trending with children today, behaviorally, and performance inhibitors, so that parents are aware as well, to see the coach's perspective of how children are behaving and what is inhibiting their performance and how parents can help. So I think we'll do the next one on that.
Yes.
But to
And before we finish,
okay,
I wanna add to the last part I said.
sure.
You know, I didn't behave correctly all the time as an athlete, nor as a student.
Mm-hmm.
But I wish at that time the coaches or the teacher that I had patience and tried to understand me. Understand? Not punish me for what I react or how I react. Understand? I told you the coach that I remember the most is my first coach, is my pommel horse coach, actually. My first coach and my pommel horse coach, and my last coach in gymnastics. And that man, the last coach I had, he was working with a almost adult, like a 19 years old male in an
Mm-hmm.
Eastern European country. And he guided me. He took the time to understand me. He took the time to make me understand
That's
my
great.
behavior, to help me understand how do I look when I do this or I say this or I react. Like understand. And that's why I end up finish school. That's why I end up getting my coaching license. That's why I end up going back to the national team, is because he took the time to understand me and make me understand my behavior.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
He left a lasting impact on you.
Yes, that's a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in doing all these episodes, the point is to illuminate the champion within all of us, within athletes, within coaches, and
And
within
parents,
parents. And, we use illuminating because it's a light that you want to continue spreading. So at the end of the episode, I want to leave you with some tips for luminous moments. And luminous moments are more than just happy moments. They're moments that are actionable that you can feel proud of. So instead of the episode dying out like the embers are fading, we want to leave it shining bright, and you take it from there and use the information that you've taken in your own way. So today's luminous moment tips for coaches are to do exactly what Mihal just said, to take time with your athletes. Be patient with them, especially when you see them struggling behaviorally. Talk to them
work with
about
them.
why it's important to be alert, why it's important to be focused, and how that can help benefit them in sports and just in life in general. For parents, your job at home is to reiterate at home the benefits of listening closely to the teacher in school, to the coach, listening attentively to the instructions, and how that's going to allow your child to receive the benefits that they want. They're going to learn faster. They're going to enjoy themselves more. They're going to spend more time, doing tricks rather than having to hear the same instructions 5 times because they weren't paying attention. And then for athletes, be the quickest and the best listener that you can be when you're in school and when you're in the gym. Be alert to hear your teacher's voice, whether it's your school teacher or your sports coach. And make sure that you fully understand what they're asking you. Take time if you're standing in line and you're listening to an instruction, make eye contact. Make sure you're understanding what your coach is saying. And if you don't understand, speak up.
Ask.
Tell your teacher, I don't understand this,
Yeah.
whether it's in school or whether it's in your sport, because then you're going to allow yourself the time you personally need to grasp what they're saying and set yourself off on the right foot to perform well. So, those are our tips for today. And we want to say thank you.
And for the parents, we have to give a tip to the
I did.
parents too. You did it?
Yeah.
I was going to just tell the parents, allow your child to struggle
Yeah.
in sports and academically. Allow them to struggle, but give them the tools and guide them towards the success. Understand? Let them struggle to get
Yep.
up there, because without struggling, they're not going to become successful. They're never going to taste success in life, like a real success. Success come out of struggle and hard work and discipline.
True. Very
Thank you.
true. So thank you so much, Mark, for doing this episode with us and all of our previous episodes. It's always such a pleasure. And
Yes.
thank you so much, everybody, for taking the time to listen.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mark.
Right. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Illuminating Champions. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and stay tuned for our next episode.